from the belly of the beast. Wake up my people to reality.
Book, while this discussion was going on, it wasn't something that I originated. Often people will write books and they are writing books because they're trying to introduce a new idea or they're trying to carry forth a discussion. I discovered as I was writing this book that this discussion was going on in our community all over the world. I discovered it was going on in the UK, and the main reason that it was going on is because something was wrong. I talked to some of the elder sisters in the community, and they would say there's something in the air, that they can feel that there's something in the air, there's something that is not quite correct. And when we go back and look at the trends that have been occurring, we see that there has been a movement toward Negroism, toward people running away from what it means to be African. At a time, there was this huge gray area that people could sit in between being an African and being a Negro. And that gray area has disappeared because people believe that what we exist in and what has happened is different than what it is. It has gotten worse. Yes. Those people who sat in the gray area had to make a choice. They had to decide where they were going to be, what side they were going to be on. More important in terms of this book was looking around the community that I live in. We live in Atlanta, Georgia. And Atlanta, Georgia, to a lot of folks, is the center, if you will, of consciousness, African consciousness in this country. There are a whole lot of quote-unquote conscious people in Atlanta, Georgia. However, there's a problem there, just like there are so many other quote-unquote conscious communities. What we're defining as consciousness runs the gamut from being homosexualized to being a Negro, to being a Euro, to sleeping with Euros. Anything but being serious about defending our community, about elevating the power of our children. So we're looking around and we're seeing this vast array of definitions of what it means to be African. And that was deeply troubling. Because if that process continues, then pretty soon what it means to be African applies to anybody who just wants to walk around with a piece of red, black, and green on, with a piece of mudcloth on, carrying an ankh. Because there's no clear-cut standard. We have allowed people into this discussion who belong nowhere near this discussion. We have allowed people who think out of the mind of the European to take that which is European and claim that it is African. Pretty soon, we're going to have Europeans who are going to be claiming that they're African because they can say, well, if humanity began in Africa, if humanity began in Africa, then I'm as much an African as I am, so I'm African-centered. And a lot of us have bought into that, and that's what's making it so easy for them to continue the destruction of the African continent. That's what's making it so easy for them to continue the scramble for Africa, which never ended. Because if it belongs to everybody, then who are we special to claim it? So we have to straighten this out. So this book is an attempt to explain what has already been explained, but to say it again, to make it plain. We are here because we are in trouble. We are here because we have been compromised. We are here in many cases because we believe that we're losing. We are here because we believe in the power of our ancestors.
That's right.
We believe in our ancestral truth. We believe that we can win. And as I've been corrected so many times, we are winning. Some of us just aren't quite aware of that fact, which is another part of the discussion, so I'm jumping around. How we define progress as a people based upon where other people tell us we are, based upon the images that we see in the media, based upon the illustrations of the destruction of African people. based upon how bad of a shape we are, based upon the pictures of who we see on the news who was caught for this or who did that. We have to have another means of measuring progress if we're going to rise. And I believe that we should measure progress by how far we have moved away from insanity. I have found that is very invigorating to warriors who are worn out, who are tired, who every day when they wake up, they see the destruction of African people. And it's extremely painful to watch that when you're trying to fight. It's like saying, well, I'm trying to save a people who doesn't want to be saved. And to wake up to this every day can be very discouraging. But maybe the problem is that we're making the wrong measurement. Maybe we're using their indicators of progress. The accumulation of mechanical technology, the accumulation of money, how close you are to their center as a measure of progress, instead of making our measure of progress how crazy people think you are. When I was at Morehouse, there was a sociology faculty who told the students that I was psychotic. And I sent them back to him and I said, tell him, I said, thank you. Because that means that I'm on the right path. Yes, if a Negro is calling me psychotic, I know I'm right. That's right. We are using other people's indicators to tell us who we are and where we're at. The farther that we are moving away from the European center, the closer we are moving to our ancestors. Those should be the best indicators of who we are, where we're at, how far we have progressed. And the farther we move away from this insanity, then the more we have progressed. The more people consider us to be crazy, I'm serious. The crazier people consider me to be, the happier I am. The more I know that I'm on the right path. Okay? We have to be very clear about how we're defining who we are, where we're going, what point we're at now. Another part of that discussion relative to progress has to do with something that I've been hearing now really for about 2 years, sometime in tears, from warriors who will come to me or will come to us and they will say, my family treats me so bad. They do not understand. They will make fun of my name. They will say I am crazy. They will act like I don't know what I'm doing. They will behind my back try to turn my children against me. I will not be disrespected in my family. That's right. That's right. I have to be very clear on that. But we have family members who don't want anything to do with being African. We have family members who hate the idea of being African. We have family members who think that if they respond to us in a particular way, we'll leave that cult and come back to that menticidal state. So they treat us like we're dogs. They treat us like we're little children. And they expect us to respond to them like a Negro would expect you to respond to them. One of the things that revolutionaries have always done is that they have had the knack for building, for creating family among revolutionaries. That doesn't mean that you discard or dismiss the family that is respecting you. I will not be disrespected by a family member. That'll be the end of the conversation until they get to a point where they understand. That will be the end of the conversation. My ancestors will not be disrespected, and I am my ancestors. That's right. My ancestors will not be disrespected. So no one should be disrespecting us. That's right. The alternative is a better option. Family like elder, like brother, like sister, like father, like mother, like Jegna, like ancestor, these are earned designations. So when we're talking about people who are supposed to be family, then they have to act like family. If you're not acting like my mother, if you're not acting like my father, if you're not acting like my brother or my sister or my cousin or my aunt or my uncle, what have you, then obviously you don't qualify until you wake up.